Hi.
Hello there.
Welcome to Hugo Girl, a podcast in which we talk about science fiction, fantasy, and adjacent properties that are also related to the Hugo. I'm Amy.
I'm Lori.
I'm Haley.
Today we are talking about The Fountains of Paradise by Arthur C. Clarke. It won the 1980 Hugo, year of my birth, and the 1979 Nebula. Is that the year of your birth, Kevin?
Kevin was born in 1980 as well.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Okay. It was also nominated for the Locus and the BSFA award.
I hope the microphones picked up Kevin's indignant.
What?
I heard 1970s. So.
Oh, 1979. Sorry.
Kevin, you turned 50 this year, right?
Is there any acknowledgements? Are there any corrections, corners, reviews, acknowledgements?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We
Yes.
got a wonderful review.
Oh, yeah, that's
which
right.
I suspect is from Victoria, who also reached out on Instagram and sent us
Hi,
a nice note on
Victoria.
Instagram. That's a 5-star review.
Of course. Hell yeah.
And Victoria says, I'm a woman possessed. I spend about 80% of my time talking about Hugo Girl and the other 20% of the time praying for someone else to bring them up so I can talk about them more.
We're her Roman Empire.
I love that. Oh, we are. I've organized a book club about sci-fi and fantasy, and a friend recommended the podcast to us. Thanks, friend. It's been so much fun to listen while reading the stories. Love from Brazil.
Oh, love back to Brazil.
Ah, oh, so nice.
Never been to Brazil.
We had not gotten a review in a while, and that really made me happy, so thank you.
They're sweeter when they're rare. Or
Yeah,
something.
I don't know. I love all my children equally. Okay, and then I have a corrections corner.
Sweet.
So when we talked about Twilight last time, and we were like, did they have a forger or something? Where do they get all their documents from? Well, Kevin's friend Lauren listened to the podcast, and she let us know via Kevin that, yes, they do have a forger. And then I remembered kind of from one of the later movies that Kristen Stewart goes to see him.
Oh.
And they meet at a restaurant. He's a lawyer.
What's she getting forged?
They have a lawyer. I don't remember. Renesmee's documents. Yeah. Renesmee's identity documents. And he's a lawyer, which is very rude of him to be a forger. But I guess you only need one client if the client has enough money.
Also,
that's not my official
Does
opinion,
he
by the
live
way.
forever? Is the forger a vampire?
No, he is a
The Normo?
ordinary human, one regular human lawyer. And I guess his older law partner, Kevin, did you tell me his older law partner was their forger before and now the new guy is? Anyway, lawyers don't do forgery. That's my official advice. Okay. So, yes, the Cullens have a forger. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, we announced that we recused from eligibility from the Hugo Awards going forward at a time when we reasonably believed that we were legitimate Hugo Award winners. Now that has been cast into doubt because of vote tampering and nomination tampering and a whole host of misdeeds by last year's Hugo administrators, we're unrecusing. Not for this year, though. We're sitting this year out. Nominations for this year over, but effective for 2025 Seattle Worldcon, we're throwing our hats back in the ring. So if somebody wanted to nominate us, they could nominate us, and we'd say thank you.
Just do it, you know?
Yeah, we would like an opportunity to participate in a fair Hugo Awards, because last year was not a fair Hugo Awards.
Lord have mercy.
And really, as evidenced by this year's ballot, there are many Chinese works on this year's ballot.
There are.
And I think that really weighs toward there should have been more on last year's ballot. And so it's like, in the actual voting, it doesn't appear that our votes in our category were too screwy, but we can't know that ballot was the right ballot.
Yeah.
There could have been nominees that just got unilaterally ditched.
And if we ever get the trophies, which it's not looking likely, every time I look at it, I'm going to be like, oh, that's those were the crappy
That's
things.
that one that thing
That's
I
my
got.
cheating, my cheating rocket. I almost said my cheating dong because it looks like a dong.
Cut that.
But then I was like, cheating dong could be read a different way. Don't say that.
Yeah. Did we not talk about this last time?
We did not.
Okay.
No, Haley was like, do you want to talk about it? And I forgot that
Maybe
we were
that's why. Okay.
unrecusing.
It was too fresh.
Haley and Kevin tried to get me to talk about it, and I forgot that we were unrecusing.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I was like, oh, nah. And then Kevin's like, well, people would probably like to know that they could vote for us. I was like, oh.
We have some distance. There's less emotion now.
That's true. Yeah, so
Okay, back on.
So if you want to read more about our thoughts on that, we did put a statement on our website. So you can visit hugogirlpodcast.com and you can read our statement on that. And that's all we have to say about that for now. Bye!
That's it. That's the podcast.
Oh, wait. We have a book to talk about.
So
We have a book to try to talk
The
about.
Fountains of Paradise. The plot summary, you guys, is going to be a little sparse because the plot in this book is a little sparse. That
It's an
does
idea
not
book.
mean that the book is not good, but it does. We'll talk about that too. But it does mean there's not a lot of like actual things that happen. So the plot is really Vanavar Morgan wants to build a space elevator. He wants to build it in Taprobany on a sacred mountain. At first, he can't. And then he can.
This sounds like the Narantel gym.
He hates the twins.
He hates the Buddhist monastery.
At first, he can't. Then he can. We all get a PhD in space elevators. Then he starts building it. When he's building it, some people are put in peril and Morgan saves them and then he dies. And then the elevator is finished. And then Earth goes into an ice age, but it's okay because there's a space elevator and there's also an alien and a satisfying ending.
Yeah, good job. That's right.
I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a 315-page book, so more words are used. But that
Mine was only 270, so
Yeah, mine was 270.
not very many
Oh.
words in mine.
that includes like the
Maybe you had
preface and
more.
the-
Maybe we missed some important stuff.
No, I think it includes like the preface and the afterword and like all the.
Amy, did you have plot chapters in yours?
I did not talk about all the chapters where they talk about the history of
Shrikanda?
Yakagana.
Oh.
Kalidasa.
So the King Kalidasa builds his palace on top of this rock and also gardens. And that was the beginning of the conceit of the book where we're talking about man using technology to become a god or whatever.
It was not ham-fisted at all.
No.
No.
Very subtle. Very subtle.
I found myself doing that thing where I'm like, we don't need this, but like, I only do that when I'm annoyed by a book. So I had to like tell myself to calm down and be like, if I just keep doing that, there will be nothing left of this book.
Well, I want to talk about that because I read a review that I thought had an interesting perspective.
Oh,
okay.
perfect
so,
segue.
Well, goodies from Goodreads. Oh, yeah. Reviews. Goodies from Goodreads. Ready, go.
I have a good one.
Okay.
Jim O'Laughlin gave it 1 star. This one's really funny. It's a couple sentences. We are supposed to admire the protagonist's intelligence and tenacity, even though his closest emotional relationship is with the futuristic yo-yo he carries around. Really, no joke. Other characters appear in the novel, but Morgan doesn't really care about them. He shuns a female reporter who seems kind of interested in him, and in the novel's big finish, he forgets that his nephew, who of course worships him, is visiting. In the end, it's his yo-yo that he can really count on.
And then he loses it. It gets real sad.
Oh yeah, he's like, what if they find it when it crashes? We can put it back together.
Well, the yo-yo is a parallel for the kite.
Oh. Mind blown.
Yep.
Remind me of what the kite. Oh, that's when he was a kid,
He
right?
lost the kite when
He
he
lost
was
the
a
kite,
kid,
that's
and he
right.
was so sad about it.
Kite.
Mhm.
Aw,
The yo-yo
it's
was
a
his
big
grown-up kite.
Little Ben Franklin.
The space elevator is
It's a
basically
little
a kite.
bookend of losing little sky things that he likes.
Oh, baby Vanavar.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, Lori?
Okay, I have 1 star from VJ Reads, and it says, I always wanted to read Arthur C. Clarke because of I interested in sci-fi. I just think it's just like a typo. But just don't read this book. This is horrible and boring. I could not even complete the book. Worst book I have ever read in my life. I was getting sleepy when reading this book.
I too got sleepy when reading this book. I do think the ending kind of makes up for it a little bit.
I thought the ending was so good.
I think finishing the book makes it seem a little better in hindsight, but
It was good to have some conflict.
I wondered if the reason people like this book is like a recency bias thing. Like you read the good part last.
Maybe.
So then you were like, that was fucking great. And you just forgot that you were bored for the first 200
it's
pages.
it's like having a baby when you're flooded with endorphins or whatever, and you forget how bad the baby birthing was.
people
and
who
you
have
wanna do it
given
again.
birth, write in. Is it like that? Read this book and then write in and let us know. Was reading this book like giving birth?
One good
Feminist
thing,
favorite.
One good thing about it is that I knew what was happening every single sentence.
That's true.
That
He
is
does not
true.
let you forget a single plot point.
And
Definitely not the worst book I've ever
his
read.
writing is clear. Yeah, I mean, I didn't
lucid.
hate it. And his writing is clear. The sentences always make sense to me.
It was like reading a really fascinating Wikipedia article.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not wrong.
And I read the shit out of Wikipedia. So.
I guess it's one thing to read Wikipedia expecting information. It's another thing to read a Wikipedia novel expecting action and then never getting it. He edged us the whole way through. My review, I only chose because I really want to know if this makes any sense to you guys. It's from Matt. Matt says, if I remember correctly, there is some sort of murder mystery subplot if you can keep your eyes open long enough to follow it.
Oh, I wonder because all of a sudden they're like, oh, we can build on the rock. And then did they explain how?
Because butterflies.
So there's monks living on top of this sacred mountain where our hero wants to build his space elevator. And they are saying you cannot build your space elevator on our mountain. And it's pretty much left there. He's going to have to look elsewhere to build his space elevator, including Mars. And then the rogue monk who comes off the mountain to go be a
math guy,
guy again.
Right. Yeah.
He futzes with the meteorological technology and sends in all those gale force winds. And then because those gale force winds come in, the butterflies make it to the top of the mountain. And because the butterflies make it to the top of the mountain, the priests go, we've been defeated. We will now leave the mountain.
Amy, I'm so glad you said
that part,
because I wondered if that happened, but
it's not clear.
Well, so
I missed that.
I noticed that. Why did we have this math monk?
Yeah.
Who then defected and then we never saw him again. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, why do we suddenly have gale force winds? But I didn't connect those two things. But I wondered, I was like, is this a scam?
Yeah.
The only clue is when Raja Singh is looking at the trails in the sky, he's seeing some things happen up there that are weird. Mm-hmm. And so it's supposed to, I think, connect you to what happens with the gale force winds. I don't think he does this very well. Mm-hmm. And then right after all that happens, there's a line in there about the math monk having a nervous breakdown or whatever. And messing with this stuff and then having a nervous breakdown. I had to read that whole thing twice.
Oh, see, I had some suspicions, but I was unwilling to reread.
But more importantly, murder mystery.
Yeah.
Oh, so were they just saying like as an analogy or was someone actually murdered?
I don't know. I read this and I was like, the only person that I can think of who dies is, there's Morgan. And then there's also...
Not a mystery.
Peter? Something, the friend of Raja Singh.
Oh, yeah.
The mover and shaker guy.
Sarath.
Yeah. He dies. But I don't think we find out how.
Yeah. And even if it was foul play, there's nothing that would make me care about it. Like,
so maybe it was just like an analogy, like,
okay.
Maybe it was on a
plot, but
a secret
I didn't miss anything.
Thing.
I read that too, and I was like, oh, he doesn't mean this book.
Okay, cool. Excuse me. Maybe we can reach out to Matt and find out what he meant.
Should we do a jab from Joe?
Oh, jab from Joe!
I have my book over there.
I have the quote that's really good.
Oh, you have it? Okay.
So it's like the last two sentences. Joe Walton, who generally likes most books, and let us remember that she has read Citeen like 60 times. Nevertheless, my strongest feeling on finishing this book is absolute disbelief that this was considered good enough to win the Hugo. This is thin stuff. Thin and stretched. See what she did there?
It's just like the nanofibers that aren't called nanofibers.
And then her kicker is, there are better things to do with your afternoon.
Oh, shady.
And it's so short, too. You're not really wasting your life away
there
reading
are worse
this,
books.
Short, like Citeen.
Yeah. It probably did take her an afternoon to read.
So, in my history of the Hugos, informal history of the Hugos, is that what it's called? Which I got for Christmas. Kevin, did you give me that or your parents? Kevin's parents gave me that. I got a lot of books for Christmas, so I couldn't remember. So I read this year's Hugo chapter in there, in which she said that Morgan builds a beanstalk to space. She is not having it.
I did look at the 1979 nominees, and it was not a packed year. So,
well, 1980, she would argue was a packed year, and she was like, "There were so many good books. What the fuck?"
Oh, really? I'd only heard of one of the authors, so
I hadn't heard of them. But she was like,
Clarke won on name.
Maybe she read all of those, and she was like, "This is an incredible book. This was a wonderful book." And then she goes on to talk about the other awards that year. So she's like, there were these that were World Fantasy winners, and these were incredible. And she talked about like other stuff that was published that she thought should have won a Hugo over
everything
this.
but this, basically.
Yeah, she was like, there was a new Curious George that came out in 1980. It would have been a better candidate.
The year before was Dream Snake, so I wonder if this was like maybe like a hard science reaction to like the Snake Lady.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, Dream Snake. Remember her?
Ani DeFranco and her snake basket.
All of the hard science guys were like, no, we got to have this space elevator.
So, okay, I do want to get back to what we just were talking about. It's like reading Wikipedia. Lots of facts. Plot doesn't go anywhere. He's obviously trying to put lots of sections in there that show the things he thinks are interesting. I think.
And mostly are.
Like, what is that part? There's a whole part in there where he talks about Operation Space Junk or whatever it's called, where they have to clean up all the little bits and pieces and bits and bobs we've left up, including 3 human beings in space.
Yeah, and that would later be showcased in Seven Aves by Neil Stephenson. Like, the idea of space junk, there's so much, and there's a website you can visit where you can see all of it.
Right.
It's so much.
Super interesting.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
What did it do for this book?
Yeah.
It gave it a little bit of humanity, maybe.
I have a coworker who's also really into science fiction, and the morning after I finished this, I emailed him and I was like, "Have you read The Fountains of Paradise?" And he was like, "Not in a really long time. I don't really remember it." And I was like, "Well, it's a weird book because the first 200 pages I was so bored, and the last 60 pages I sat at my kitchen table in an uncomfortable chair on the edge of my seat. I could not put it down." And I was like, it really made me wonder if he wrote the good part as a standalone short story and then incorrectly thought, readers will want to know how we got here in terms of legislation and funding.
Every part of the logistics of this. Like, we got to clear out the space junk so it doesn't get hit by any flying people.
Yeah, well, and I think this book belongs to, I think it kind of kicks off a genre called Great Men Figuring Out Problems, of which, like Andy Weir's The Martian does this in a far more interesting way, I think.
I mean, Morgan being up in space, that entire thing is basically The Martian, right? He's got to figure out how to get himself out of this jam to get these other people out of their jam.
Yeah, it's
basically.
And it was so
with
good.
With no tools, right?
Yeah. I loved that
It's
part.
great. But
with no tools, it was so good. Why didn't they have even a little multi-tool? Kevin would have been like, "Oh, I've got a wrench."
Even I have that in my Hyundai.
Kevin would be like, "I have several wrenches. They're here in my pocket. Do I need a flashlight?" He needed a light.
Yeah.
Kevin always has flashlights and a multi-tool and at least one knife.
That's true.
The review I read that was interesting about that tendency of his, which is to sort of describe ad nauseum what's going into the plot of the book, right?
Yeah.
Is that he's sort of imagining this world in which people have their shit together, and then they focus on bigger goals. And if you have your shit together and you're focusing on bigger goals, all you have to worry about is the minutia. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
It's like there's no conflict because there's no conflict.
Yeah.
In this world he lives in, and it was
Yeah.
like
Somebody else does it.
Oh, I like that.
It's like someone who is a big picture person versus who is like a copy editor. It's like dealing with like...
Well, what's funny is the guy who wrote this that I was reading, he is a copy editor.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm extremely anal retentive, so I get it. Like, I get him having this kind of protagonist. I get him wanting to dot his I's and cross his T's and all that stuff, which I thought, yeah, I mean, I get it too. I think if I went back and read it again, I would like it a lot more, which is similar to how I reacted to 2001: A Space Odyssey, at least the movie. Mm-hmm. It was like, after I know what to expect, after I know that I'm not going to like, it's not like a page turner, jump out of your seat kind of action thing.
Expectations.
I think I could like it a lot more. Like, yeah, knowing kind of what's coming.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was what I read that was interesting, I thought. And like, man, yeah, I want us to get our shit together and I want us to have these nice big goals. But then every time I think about us having these nice big goals, I think of Lori and how you don't like the space program and how it's a waste of money. It is.
Don't email me.
No, in a sense,
we got problems at home, is what I think.
In a sense, it is a waste of money and resources. You know, it's like obviously in this world we do not have our shit together, and so we need to fix the things on the ground before we can.
Or we could reallocate funds. Like, do we need 9 aircraft carriers?
Right. Well, sure.
Or we
also
could go to
true.
space.
There may be other answers.
We
Yeah.
could go to space and cut other things.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we do get good
technology
stuff
and
out of
that's what I was
space
going to say. There's an interesting push that I think sort of society gets from lofty goals.
Yeah.
And exploration.
I want everyone to know I don't hate space.
No, I know. I was kidding. You like space.
I just see a lot of people sleeping outside
Right.
and think,
Yeah,
if only there was money somewhere.
Right,
But there's
yeah.
money other places.
That's true.
I was also thinking about how hard we were on Paolo when we read Wind Up Girl and how he spent a semester in China and now he thinks that he's the world's expert on Asian cultures or whatever.
Yeah.
Because this takes place in Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a thinly veiled Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we think Arthur gets a pass on this or not, because all of the Sri Lankans or non-European people in the book are extremely passive people. And I mean, it's a white story in Sri Lanka, really. I mean, there are some non-white characters. The only one that I can think of that doesn't fit that mold is maybe the Sheikh from North Africa. But Arthur immigrated to Sri Lanka in like the 50s, and he lived there the whole
buried there,
last
wasn't he?
half of his life. He's buried there, and he lived with a family there. Like that was his home.
He had a
And he-
husband there. Or not a husband.
But partner,
but
yeah. But he moved there because Sri Lanka was an easy place to live if you were gay.
Oh.
And like there was a large community of expat homosexual men, particularly, that lived there, which I was thinking about. I was like, well, who am I? Who am I to say he can't write about his home?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he gets more of a pass because he's not talking horribly about women throughout the entire novel.
He's also not
Sure, we were already mad at him.
I think it's I was about to say apples and oranges, but I think it's like two different kinds of apples.
Yeah.
Because I think in the Wind Up Girl, I'll go back to the article that I quoted when we were actually doing that episode where they said something along the lines of Orientalism in genre fiction, or is your own culture not weird enough for your dystopia? It was something like that. And I think that Wind Up Girl is more sort of doing this weird gaze at the culture where it's set.
Yeah.
And this book is just like, we're here. There's a temple. Like it's very
The setting.
It's very much a setting. And I mean, that's its own thing where you've sort of like taken this location and kind of washed a lot of the culture out of it. That's its own apple. But I feel
There is some culture. I mean, it does include a lot.
Oh
So,
yeah,
like,
but like you say, this is like a very white
It is
guy's
a- yeah,
story. Like
white
you
story.
when you were reading it last night, and you were like, "This story feels like peak dad."
it is
Yeah.
big deal.
I mean, I think my very first comment in the group chat was like, oh, another white guy cosplaying Indian gods.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's why I was thinking about it as I was reading it too.
Yeah.
It was like, well, okay, yes. It is. He took the stories of this place and used them for his own purposes and
Yeah.
turned them into
He
this
at
white guy
least-
story. But
He at least lived there for decades instead of just spending like half of junior year abroad.
I don't know if he gets gazy with it.
I have more of a sense of appreciation
Yeah.
from him, but I'm not saying like this is 100% of a fine thing to do. But I think on
Yeah.
the spectrum of employing and or appropriating another culture, this is not close to Wind Up Girl, in my opinion.
No, I don't think it's close to Wind Up Girl either. I mean, this one at least made me go look up the actual history of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Whereas Wind Up Girl, I couldn't even.
It's not even based on a real country because it's in the future with Wind Up Girl too. Like,
yeah. I
like,
mean,
I read one review that was like, it's very clear how much this man loves Sri Lanka
Yeah,
and lived
yes.
there. So there's that difference.
I think that since that comes across, it's an interesting
Juxtaposition?
gloss.
Gloss?
Sure. Gloss. We'll go with gloss. It's an interesting gloss on the question. Like, he loves it. His love comes across.
Yeah.
But also, it's a little bit of appropriation.
He could have not had the Sri Lankan deity part and I would have been fine with it.
Yeah. But the problem is there's no, I guess you could liken it to cathedrals or something like that if you wanted to make it European, I guess.
Yeah. He wanted to like do a parallel between I'm a great man in the future. This was a great Hindustani person. We are both great men. So
We're both great men, and here's why I have to destroy his stuff.
yeah, because my stuff is bigger.
My stuff is bigger and better.
I mean, he literally wiped out the last vestiges of this religion.
And you can tell that
Why?
Clarke,
Because it's cheaper. Capitalism.
Clarke has an appreciation for this culture, but Morgan, our protagonist, really does not.
yeah.
Well, Arthur, I think it's also interesting that Arthur himself was an atheist. And like his take on religion is pretty
Straightforward. It's pretty straightforward. He's like,
yeah, it's
you're wrong.
He's like, aliens come, therefore all the
Oh
opposites.
yeah, I was like, I don't know if that's how that would go, man.
that's what I was like, no, I think I was reading was it Joe or somebody else? Someone was talking about how that reaction. So basically in the book, this probe comes from an alien culture and we can talk to the probe. So we're sending it information, it's answering our questions, it's sending us information and back and forth. And one of the things that we talk about is religion, and the little alien AI on the probe is trying to figure out religion and whatever. And so it ends up saying that basically nothing in religion is logical, so therefore religion can't exist, essentially. And apparently everybody on Earth just goes, oh,
You're
and,
right.
and that's
Throws
that.
off their vestments.
That's
that.
because they didn't have the internet, and they didn't know that the internet would be full of people being like, "What? You
That's what, like, whoever was reading was like, that's not how human beings
Yeah.
would respond to this.
and it's not how religion works. It's not based on logic. It's based on
and
faith.
Many, many, many people point out logical fallacies in certain beliefs, and it gets nowhere.
Right. It's not like we haven't thought of that.
Right? Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I thought that was funny, though. He's just like, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of religion so that we can make science the religion.
It was so easy.
And then it's not
ChatGPT
bad to
Yeah.
destroy the temple
Yeah.
exactly.
because it's a temple to nothing.
I was so sad they tore down that many thousands of year old.
I know.
It made me real sad. But then I started thinking, why am I so interested in preserving old things? Because they're pretty.
Well, they also meant something to a lot of people.
Did it? a lot of people, I guess pilgrims were still going there. That's right.
Yeah. And the
tourists.
people who lived there and took care of it.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the whole reason we have a national park system.
They dipped out with the butterflies, though. So.
Well, but that was because that was part of their belief. Oh, no, they weaponized their beliefs against them. That
Well, their
wasn't
own
very
monk
nice.
did it.
Yeah.
The call was coming from inside the house.
It's like,
inside
see?
the temple.
See, all religion's bad. We hate religion, right, guys? And I am very a-religious, but I was like, damn, Arthur, okay.
I know. I was like, I get it.
Yeah. It's like, what's his face? Who was the famous atheist?
That one?
Yeah,
Richard
there's like-
Dawkins?
Yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke.
Yeah, like some of them get so aggressive.
Richard Dawkins is real into it.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it takes more faith to be a hardcore atheist than it does to.
Oh, it's definitely a belief.
yeah. Like I'd take the who knows.
Oh,
approach.
right. I'm just like, I don't know. It's not my business.
It's not my business.
I like giving gifts at Christmas.
Yeah.
End of list.
I was trying to think of the last time the world saw some sort of engineering marvel, like
cloning,
this.
maybe.
Well,
Whatever.
I read a book about the Brooklyn Bridge recently, and I think that probably held the same.
That's a cool thing.
Like people were real into that was going on, and they actually knew who the engineer was, and they were following this thing. They had a lot of opinions about it. Like not everybody was on board, but it was definitely unavoidable. Like they were all aware of it. Like the Hoover Dam comes to mind. These
Yeah.
are American. I don't know. I mean, I was trying to think of engineering marvels. When was the last time we had a
There's
good
that
one?
really tall building in the Burj Khalifa.
Burj Khalifa,
Is that what
yeah.
I'm trying to say.
And-
Oh yeah,
in-
the tallest
in
building in
Dubai.
the world or whatever. And they're building that. Have y'all seen the renderings of the city, the narrow city they're going to build?
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah, yeah.
The desert.
no.
Yeah.
Which desert?
I don't know, and I don't want to guess.
Can you give me a continent?
It's somewhere in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's Saudi, but I'm not positive. But basically, their concept is they're going to build this narrow city. I think it's called Edge or something like that.
A little on the nose, if you ask me.
Right. And like, it's this, and
They
so
didn't workshop
it's like
it.
only a mile wide, but it's like really,
So,
really,
Edge,
really, really long.
The worst internet browser.
And that may not be the name. I use Edge at work and I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, I have to use it at work too.
I was at Trivia on Tuesday, and it was the top 5 tallest skyscrapers in the world. Where do they live? That's a hard question. That's all China and the Middle East.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That's what I was like, the only ones I can think of are Western because that's me.
It's got to be places that have a lot of money, though.
Right.
So
And an interest in these kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
America has sort of given up, I feel like,
Oh,
on
we
that
don't-
kind of ingenuity.
We don't even fix the bridges we already
yeah,
have.
like our bridges are falling apart. We're like, whatevs.
we just want more shitty 10-story midtown condos.
More interstate.
Speaking of bridges, have you guys heard about the Tacoma Bridge? That's mentioned in this book 75
Galloping
times.
Gertie?
I've not.
Oh, that's Galloping Gertie?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know. I asked Kevin, I was like, did a bridge fall in Tacoma? He's like, yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
It went like this.
Okay, I've heard of Galloping
Yeah.
Gertie. I've
Is that
seen
the one from like the musical video? There's like a classic music video where somebody's on a couch watching a black and white video of a bridge just going crazy.
It could
Oh,
be
that's
that one.
probably
It
it,
could be
yeah.
that one.
Why didn't they call it Gallop? Did he call it Galloping Gertie?
No,
in
I
there?
looked it up on Wikipedia.
Oh.
I like
'Cause
that.
if
I like that name
if he
better.
had said that, I would have been like, oh, I know about that.
Part of it's still there, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, it fell apart like 4 months after it went up because there was a tension thing they had not, or a vibration thing they hadn't thought of. So it just started going nuts and fell down.
I
would
did like how they talked about that vis-a-vis the space elevator. Like, we've done all the math and everything works, but we can't actually know until we try because there might be some factor that we're not aware of because we've never been here. And that's like the bridge vibration.
And what was that? There was a quote somewhere that's like, the more man harnesses nature, the more like exposed he is to nature, basically.
Oh,
Can't remember
yeah.
the quote, but it's so true. It's like you can get out there and you can do your best, but you cannot foresee everything.
Yeah.
Same with space. There's so much, like, redundancy, and things still go wrong constantly.
Sometimes your elevator breaks. Wait, what happened? The brakes
There was an explosion.
didn't work. There was an explosion.
There's
at the
always an
end.
explosion.
I
That's what it
wasn't
was.
sure what caused the explosion. Do we know? Does anyone know?
I think, somebody didn't put a strap on the battery casing.
No,
That was
his
the
little
that was the
pod.
rescue guy.
Yeah.
Oh, then I don't know.
But
But,
like
like-
they were coming down, and then
Something exploded.
Yeah.
And remember, his nephew was looking up through the telescope, and they were like, "See the such and such," and he was like, "No." And they're like, "Yeah, on the bottom of the tower, there's a such and such," and he's like, "No." And then finally, they look through, and they're like, "Whoa!" And then they find out that there was an explosion, but I don't know why there was an explosion.
something exploded. Yeah, and you can't foresee that. And I thought that was an interesting line about space. Speaking of space, it's like when things go wrong in space, it's never like one thing. It's like a series of little innocuous things that then result in a big tragedy.
Have y'all seen the movie Gravity?
Not
Yes.
It's really good. I saw it and had a panic attack in the theater because it's so stressful. Because
no.
basically,
The one where Sandra Bullock is
Yeah.
floating in
like in her underwear, of course.
Does George Clooney have to save her?
Basically,
No.
Oh,
yeah, no,
okay.
girl goes on her own.
Oh, okay.
But basically, it's like space is always trying to kill you, and that's true. Like, it's the most inhospitable environment to be in.
So is the sea. The sea is always trying to kill you. And I would argue the sun is always trying to kill you.
Yeah.
But I can at least swim in the sea, and the sun doesn't kill me automatically.
You seen those videos on TikTok of the North Sea? You can't swim in that sea.
You know what they say? Below 50 degrees, there is no God. It's-
Did Heidi Hayes write that?
I'm reading the wager.
Oh, yeah.
And they're heading for Cape Horn. And the sailor's saying is that below 40 degrees, there's no law. Below 50 degrees, there's no
latitude.
God. Yeah,
Yeah.
latitude, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
you know, 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
That was an implied latitude.
One thing that I've learned as I've in the process of getting scuba certified is that you have to wear wetsuits if the temperature is below 80 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Because 72 degrees, like I'm doing my final training in the Springs in North Florida soon. 72 degrees for an hour, fine. 5 hours might kill you because of how quickly water leaches heat from your body.
Yeah. Why is everything always trying to kill us?
Something's going to get us.
I just read my note that says battery Dingleberry. Which is all I could think of was like a dog with a little dingleberry hanging off its butt when he was trying to get the battery off.
Yeah.
My favorite talking point is, wow, they really built that space lift, huh?
They sure did.
They did.
And then my only other talking point is he did invent the concept of Google alerts.
He did.
Oh, I like that instead of a big dumb object, we had a small smart object in this.
Oh, yeah. The yo-yo.
Yeah.
I do think
No,
yeah.
the Star Glider
Yeah.
was not very big.
Oh, okay.
I got way more payoff from this than all of Rama because, like, at least the aliens did something. Whereas with Rama, it was just like, we got this big dumb thing.
I really liked Rama, but that was... I mean, I do really like Rama, but when I was reading it, it was before I was used to these books having no plot.
Yeah.
So I naively thought that there would be some payoff at the end, and then it just stopped. They were like, and then we went home. And I was like, but what is it?
Yeah.
Who was there?
And that's his point, I'm sure. But I liked having a really quick synopsis of the aliens' thoughts.
I loved the Star Glider chapters. I was like, this is why I'm here. These are so good. I thought they were fantastic.
And it's so nice having them not be, like, evil.
And then, yeah. And then the next chapter would be like, Senator Collins, which I imagine to be Senator Susan Collins, is undecided about support for the space elevator. And I'm like, okay.
Well, awe exists at the same time as banality on Earth. It's just a true thing. Like
That's true, but I can get banality for free. I don't need it in a book.
That's true.
the best awe we got in the book, I think, was when Morgan was going up in his spider and he was like, and it gave us every thought of his as he was transitioning from Earth up to space. And I thought that was really great.
With the lights and everything.
Yeah, it was really great.
I really did like it.
It's
Imagine
a pretty
being
piece of writing.
the best engineer in the world and not just having a multi-tool in your pocket.
He's got his spinneret.
Hyperfilament ran so that nanofibers could run. Did y'all catch the reference to Miskatonic University?
Yes, I highlighted it. Yes, I did.
I thought that was so great.
Little nod.
What's Miskatonic?
It's from H.P. Lovecraft. H.P.
Oh,
Lovecraft.
nice.
Yes.
I don't know why that sounded wrong. Yeah, it shows up in a lot
His
of
name
his
is Hubert Lovecraft.
One of my favorite things about Clarke is all of his how he's basically psychic about technology. And so I like to highlight his technological previews
Okay.
and see how well he does. He had what I think is possibly the first deepfake. Did y'all catch that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
So when Morgan does a tour of the model shuttle,
Oh, yeah.
he goes into the bar and it's like decorated like a Pullman car, and he sees no, I'm sorry, that was a different one. No, this is in Morgan's office or somebody's office. He's it's a picture of him in a past photograph standing next to a ship.
It was a gift.
Yeah. And he mentions that everybody who comes in and sees it can't believe it's not real or whatever.
Oh, I didn't think of it as a deep fake. I just thought of it as like a funny Photoshop.
We had the first podcast bro, the guy that has all the listeners, and he's just opining about how bad the elevator is going to go. Did y'all catch him?
Don't remember him at all.
So he had basically RSS feeds, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah, Google Alerts. Yeah.
Only men update them, but did you catch that?
It was kind of like their like Facebook or like LinkedIn profiles too. It's like,
it's
these
like
are the things I'm
you
interested
have a
in.
perpetual LinkedIn profile, and it was interesting. He had Google, basically Google. It's like mainframe Google.
Yeah.
And he had AI, He had video chat, which I think showed up in Space Odyssey too. Oh, did you see his reference to Space Odyssey in here?
Yes, Space Wars 2000. He said, I think it's something like Space Wars 2000.
Oh, my favorite one. He only missed Fukushima by 2 years.
Oh, nice.
He references the Thor meltdown.
Oh, and the Golgotha plague of like 2017
He had COVID
or something.
and he had the Fukushima meltdown.
My God.
He's like Nostradamus, this guy.
I know, he's amazing. Okay. I don't have to do every single one.
I think that's another reason why we're willing to cut him a little slack, is that this man is like...
He's so smart. I mean,
I have
stationary,
nothing against him.
stationary
Yeah,
orbit
same.
only exists because he thought of it.
Really?
Yeah, he was the one that came up with the idea of stationary orbit and satellites. He didn't do it. He's not a scientist, but
Yeah.
that was his idea.
That's cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
I don't know anything about it. It just amazes me that anyone ever invented anything.
It's like somebody invented mechanical doors in Star Trek, and then someone made it a reality.
Oh, I like that they couldn't exchange phone numbers. They had to give each other physical cards.
Oh,
to get somebody's phone number.
You got to scan my QR code. It's so funny what things get so close but then so wrong. It's
But that is like virtual cards.
Oh,
like
yeah,
you
like-
can go on
like
somebody's
conferences.
profile on their like business page, and I always thought it was funny that it says click here to download V card,
Oh, the V card.
and it downloads
Yeah.
their contact information. I think it's funny,
That's great. And he had a retractable bed, which I want.
like a electronic Murphy bed.
Yes, I want that.
Space Murphy.
Imagine how much more useful a studio apartment would be if you had a retractable bed. Anyway. 2 more things. Only have 2 more things. I like that Clarke doesn't give you a butterfly if he's not going to kill you on a mountain. Kill it on a mountain. Like, he never has Chekhov's gun that doesn't go off.
Clark's butterflies.
Clark's butterflies, they definitely go up the mountain. Like, Clark's box of twine definitely comes out to cut off the bolt.
Clark's plinth in 2000.
I just love that about him. He's like, and I'm going to set this out very neatly, and I'm going to give you all of the things, and the things are going to do the things later, and it's going to be great.
I appreciate that because I
know.
hate
I
being
love it.
confused in
I
books.
love it. And I do want to talk about old Maxine.
Let's do it.
Oh, Maxine. I can't decide whether she's a triumph.
She's my feminist favorite and my misogynist.
I know.
favorite.
I can't decide if she's a triumph or not.
I think that he probably doesn't know much about women, but also in some abstract way has respect for women. And so he's like, I'm going to put a brash, competent character in my book and make that person a woman.
Yeah, which is a great thing for the 70s.
Yeah,
And
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, like Foundation has no women. As a mom was like, and he was married. He had a wife. He spent
Yeah.
his life with a woman.
I struggle to be mad about it.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I
there's-
can't be mad.
there's nothing egregious.
It's not like there are any particularly well-drawn characters at all in this book.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I read about the character said there's something ghostly about them. They're like psychic impressions, sketches that offer just enough detail to distinguish them and let us fill in the blanks on our own. Or they're like elements in a chemical formula or components of a physics experiment, introduced, understood, and then released to play their determinate parts.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's right.
Yeah, but I think he recognizes his strengths. Like, he knows he's not a character writer, but he doesn't like exceed his boundaries. He does a good job with what he's given, I think. So
You guys haven't seen that movie, Wicked Little Letters, right? Nope. So there's a character in there who's a woman police officer, and she always introduces herself as Woman Police Officer Moss. And I thought of her when Maxine utters, "I'm a newswoman, damn it, not a news person." Because what? Her femininity was never in question.
True.
That line was amazing. Don't worry, guys. She's feminine. It's cool. Are we worried about her husky young gentleman that she sends?
it reminds me of Arrested Development when there's the proxies that have to be there for the dad that's in jail. So-
Did y'all get why they were called rims?
Remotes.
Because they're remote.
Remotes.
They're remotely out in the field
her
collecting.
husky
Yeah.
young male rims.
They're her eyes and ears.
So
So
then
that she
was
can
Maxine-
stay home and eat bonbons.
Yeah, was she always like on a video
I
screen?
guess she's in the studio.
I
Yeah.
think she can see out of their eyes too,
Oh, no,
or
but
like some headset or something.
I just wondered where she was, where she, because she was talking to him a lot.
Oh, they're like her drones.
Yeah, kind of.
I was assuming she was in the news studio, like, and I'm this just now coming
Yeah.
in. She's like Walter Cronkiting it. Or
Speaking
something.
in Courier News.
Yeah.
He could never predict the downfall of journalism, Walter.
Oh, God bless. No, he'd be appalled.
But one thing I liked about Maxine is that I feel like we learn more about Morgan as a person through her opinion of him. And I highlighted this
Yeah, that's
passage
nice.
where she says, well, she thinks to herself, Though she wished Morgan luck, she did not really like him. In her opinion, the sheer drive and ruthlessness of his ambition made him both larger than life and less than human. I mean, that's like an accurate way
Yeah.
and an accurate
It
way
was
to kind of
perfect.
describe her.
Facebook guy.
She could not help contrasting him with his deputy, Warren Kingsley. Now, there was a thoroughly nice, gentle person, quote, and a better engineer than I am, Morgan had once told her, more than half seriously. But no one would ever hear of Kingsley. He would always be a dim and faithful satellite of his dazzling primary, as he was perfectly content to be. I loved
Kinsley?
that.
I'm kind of a Kinsley.
Well, I really liked that we learn more about Morgan from her. And I also liking Kingsley because he's a thoroughly nice, gentle, humble person.
You can be both.
You don't have to be
him.
like an adventurer and a kicking down doors kind of person. You can just be a good guy. I like that.
I was chuckling again at of her femininity. There had never been any doubt.
Does that mean she has big boobs or something?
I think it just means she's tough on screen, but don't worry, she's still a woman.
Oh.
It's definitely first wave feminism.
She can hang with one of the boys, but
Exactly.
she's all girl.
Don't use gender neutral. I'm a woman. Like,
I'm a woman, damn it.
Man, I feel like a woman.
I'll go to war, but I'm wearing lipstick. Damn it.
Oh, God bless.
I don't mind it. It's funny to me.
It was important back then, I think, because like women were kept from a lot of jobs because they're like, this is just too masculine. They're like, no, I can wear makeup and be a boxer. I don't know.
The women in this book, I think you can name them one hand. There was the astronaut who very bravely died in space.
There's one grad student that was a woman, which is very ahead
There's
of its
a woman
time.
grad student. There's the woman news anchor. There's a lady who cleans his house.
There was also a few times when he just generally said men and women, and I was like, thanks
see,
for
I
not just
kept-
being like
a
men.
lot of times he
I
said
kept
men, though.
noticing men.
Yeah.
Like he would
It
just
was
say men.
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But there were some times when he would say like the men and women working at such and such a place, and I would be like, okay, thank you for acknowledging
he gave
that
us
there
a
are women
nod.
there.
Gave us a nod. Oh, and then there was the
Thank you for these scraps, Arthur C. Clarke.
Morgan's lost love. was
Oh,
also in
yeah.
there.
This man was not. This man was not interested in women.
Yeah. Well, I liked that part where he said he had to choose between life and his career. I was like, yes.
I wonder.
That made me think of the beginning of 2001, where the scientist is flying to the moon to find out what's going on, and he has this pang of guilt because his wife is
Yeah.
deceased and he's left his kids behind. And I appreciate that Clarke will illustrate men making that work-life
Yeah.
balance decision as well. Because we usually, no one ever asks a man with young kids when he's up for a promotion, like, what are you going to do with your kids? So this
Yeah.
Clarke is like, men are parents too. Men have families too. Men have to make choices too. And I like that he's portraying that.
I wonder if he had chosen for his character to be gay, if he would have given up his boyfriend too.
Well, we have him in our nice Raja Singh. I think that's our Arthur, the one that lives within the bounds of the Fountains of Paradise and just lives there and has this little telescope and
sits in bed,
just, like
living
living his life as a bachelor.
Oh.
confirmed bachelor.
Yeah, confirmed bachelor. That was the Arthur. I think that's
Yeah.
my opinion anyway. I don't know. Yeah. Any other talking points?
Where does Yoda live?
Dagobah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, to go.
I saw that too.
I looked it up on my phone on my Kobo with the dictionary, and it didn't know what it was, and so I was like, "Is this where Yoda lives?"
So read the line, or do you have the line?
No, I just I highlighted the word. Let me see. It was in there a couple of times.
Yeah, it was. I think it's a
The tree or something?
Dagobahs were reserved for relics of the Buddha, and this act appeared to be one of deliberate sacrilege.
Like it's like a shrine or something?
Oh, I think it was a tomb. Oh, yeah, the shape of the traditional bell-shaped shrine, or Dagobah. Was Yoda in a traditional bell-shaped shrine?
Is Yoda a Buddhist?
he's
to
got a
be
little
fair, when
house.
he goes into exile from Coruscant after the Jedi Purge, he gets into a thing that looks like a bell.
Okay.
He does?
In Revenge of the Sith? Yeah. I mean, it's a small Yoda-sized spaceship.
Is Yoda from Sri Lanka?
Who can say?
We don't know. Oh, I liked his heart attack, Cora.
Me too.
Oh,
Please rest now.
She was great.
Siri's like, please take a break for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I like how she told him that an ambulance was on the way while he was like partway to space.
She's like, so?
Yeah. So if people haven't read it, which I would feel a little bad about because I do feel like his death at the end is a little spoiler. It is actually a spoilable book.
You could
This
read
one
the
is.
last 50 pages and get everything you need.
For sure you could. But anyway, he has this heart condition. He's kept it a secret. He's got a little like digital personal assistant monitoring his heart, and it'll be like, please take a break and relax for 10 minutes, or please take 5 deep breaths. And then it gets like worse and worse as his condition gets worse and worse. And so as he's dying, it says something like, please stay calm, an ambulance is on the way. And he like kind of chuckles to himself as he dies, because he's like, I'm mostly in space. An ambulance is not on the way. You have not called an ambulance.
But it's like, if anybody's around, give this man CPR.
So for people who are worried about AI, it's not that smart.
Well, it's not that smart.
Speaking of, there's this part in the book where he talks about sort of challenging the AI and how people do it. And he asked what was the rainfall in the capital of the world's smallest nation on the day when the second largest number of home runs was scored in college baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Such a fun task. I want to do it.
I asked Gemini.
Yeah.
Gemini says, unfortunately, there isn't enough information available to determine the specific rainfall and home run data you've requested.
I think you got to break it up into
and
two
it goes
questions.
on and on and on
What
from
is
there.
Gemini?
Oh, it's Google's AI.
Oh, that's right. They rebranded from Bard to Gemini.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then explained why rainfall data is typically collected over a longer period and isn't readily available for single days in the past.
Oh.
Why don't you just say you don't know, Gemini? Just say, I don't know.
To be fair, Gemini did say that first, but then he wanted to explain his answer.
I ain't afraid of AI because they don't know where all the school buses are and the CAPTCHA codes. Yeah.
My favorite thing about this answer is that it gave me something else to think about at the end. It said, if you're interested in learning more about the world's smallest country, Vatican City, or finding current weather information, I can help you with that.
Vatican City.
Yeah,
I forgot all about her.
Anyway.
So Vatican City is the smallest country. So do we think Vatican City doesn't exist anymore in this world because of Starglider?
Oh, what
Because
happened?
when
What
he says
happened
the
to
smallest
Miss Pope?
country, are we talking about Srikanda?
They're like, go home. There's no God, guys.
Smallest.
He said smallest country in the world, and I assumed he was referring to
That's national state.
right. Isn't that what you just read when you read it? He said,
I hadn't thought about it. What does happen to Vatican City if there's no religion? That's a good question. Surely they'd find a way to continue wielding
So now
power.
it's just a city.
I just refuse to believe that billions of people would be like, you got us.
Yeah, no way. No way.
Anything else?
It's a perfectly fine book.
Okay, well, feminist faves, anybody?
I thought Maxine and her robot guys were cool.
No, I don't have one.
Mine is the 1 year contract, the standard 1 year contract that happens between
That's right.
between lovers. Morgan's talking about his tryst with whatever her name is, Isabel or something like that. And he says they parted ways. They didn't even do the standard 1 year contract to see how it would go. And I was like, that is a great idea.
I do like the idea of marriage being like, you get to like renew if it's going well after like 10 years.
And if she's like, I don't know, she can just get out of it.
Yeah.
He did a lot of imagining different structures of relationships, didn't he?
Yeah, he
Because
did.
Rama certainly had polyamorous marriages.
That's
Or
true.
like these two. It was funny how he would be like, they were best friends. They were also married to the same woman. Like, it was just sort of like an afterthought.
Well, that's like everybody from like 1975 to 1990, men and women included. They were just like polyamory and incest. Let's just get weird with it.
Oh, I had.
You mean authors?
Yeah, authors,
I was like,
not people.
I was
no.
like, really?
Science fiction authors. Like every female author we've read from that time period talks about incest.
Yeah.
My second feminist favorite was the quote, "Since women are better at producing babies, presumably nature has given men some talent to compensate."
Oh, snap.
But I can't think of it.
That was funny. Good old Maxine.
It was so quippy.
She's very sassy.
I like to imagine her as like Kathleen Turner in the 80s.
Yes!
Just like smoking a cigarette.
Perfect. Misogynist moment?
I think he's generally fair to Maxine, but he really portrays her as a real ball buster, which is what businesswomen usually got in that time period.
Yeah, that was kind of what was available, I think.
Like, because you couldn't be a non-ball buster and like work in the corporate world, so.
You were a ball buster or you were a trad wife, nothing in between.
I almost decided to go with the paintings of the goddesses and or concubines on the side of Yakagala / Demon Rock or Lion's Mountain or whatever it's called. But then I couldn't really decide why it was off-putting to me, and then I decided it wasn't.
Yeah.
There's just paintings of women. But then I was like, okay, well, are these making impossible beauty standards like influencers are or something? But only one person can see them, so
Yeah.
I let it all go.
Yeah.
I let it all go.
There's no need to reach. There's plenty of material out there.
The pictures of them are really cool. The actual ones, like
Oh, this is a real place?
okay, so this is
I thought it was unclear.
oh fascinating. Okay, so
I I just read this book,
I
and
did.
that was all I did.
This is what I started-
didn't read about anything.
I
You
fought
weren't
with a
DM,
guy
it's
on
okay.
Wikipedia about this because I was trying to adjust the entry on a Wikipedia article to
Oh,
put this in here. Yakagala is based on Syria. I'm not going to pronounce it right. It's like Syria or something like
okay.
that in Sri Lanka. And so
Yeah.
basically, if you look at pictures of it, it is a huge,
So there's
just
a real fresco.
yeah. There's a real fresco, and it goes, and you have to
Oh.
go up all these stairs to go see it. And then at the top, there's all these ruins, and you can see the gardens and the fountains, and like.
So what you're saying is that Arthur really only invented about 10% of what's in this book.
And he literally said 90% of this is Sri Lanka.
But like, I mean, we've got Galloping Gertie.
Yeah, all that
we've
whole
got
history.
Sri Lanka. We've got the he didn't make up the frescoes. Like,
Nope.
Really, the only thing he made up was the yo-yo and the space elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think it's just sort of a love story to that. The parts of this book that take place in the past are him filling in the cracks of a real story about a real king who did this.
Yeah, because
Who
he
had-
loved Sri Lanka. Like, he lived there. He loved
Yeah,
it.
and so this king took the capital. The nobody really knows what was on the top of this piece of rock,
Yeah.
but the lion feet are on it. You can see the remains of the lion and like
Very
all the stuff.
Ozymandias.
It is really, really cool looking.
I
I
gotta
do
go look.
recommend looking it up. I'll put the link on the notes if people are interested.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, there's all these ruins on the top of this rock, and people are like, "Why the hell did they go up there?" And you can see where the cistern, where the water was put in, and like,
Are there fountains?
yeah, there were fountains
Of
down
paradise?
Uh-huh. There were fountains down in the garden. The garden's real.
My research stopped with Google Maps, and Sri Lanka's not on the equator. So I was like, not true. Because I was like, where else could he put it? I'll find a spot for you, Arthur.
I went down a real rabbit hole about that rock. I was very interested. And there's a mountain. Mountain's not as big as it is in the.
I wish that he had been a slightly stronger writer because it sounded cool, but like I need to see photos of it to really like get the awe.
Yeah, I recommend looking at pictures of that and pictures of space elevators because it's really cool. Picturing a space elevator is really
Space
neat.
elevator's not real, right?
Well, rendering, you know.
I was
artist
checking. That was
renderings.
not a sarcastic question.
No,
I was
they are
genuinely
not.
like,
They're not real.
I was like, did I miss something?
they are possible, but they are
Did
not
I miss something else would really be the right question to ask.
real. Boob talk. Oh, I didn't give a misogynist moment, but I don't think I care. Okay, boob talk.
Oh,
I got nothing.
There's only one boob.
I have a boob talk
There is one.
relevant to your frescoes.
Yeah, that's the one I have.
Oh, do you want to do it?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I think I missed it.
Ochre-skinned, voluptuously bosomed, they
Ooh,
were clad
bosomed.
either in jewels alone or in the most transparent of upper garments.
I love an upper garment.
And when you look at those pictures, I just want to show you a picture of these ladies. I think you need to see it. Hold on. Wait do you see the jugs on these ladies? I mean,
Jugs!
round and perky.
Oh, wow. But also low, but still perky. That's
Oh,
nice.
really round. Wow,
Yeah.
really
And
round.
there's
They're
a lot. There's a lot.
They're like
of
a
them.
pomegranate.
Oh, that's like Belinda blinked.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
That's nice.
She got some side boob.
Everybody loves a side boob.
Anyway, those are real.
There's
They're real
something-
and they're spectacular.
There's something I forgot to mention, and I'd just like to submit it in lieu of my boob talk. When he's showing everybody his magic yo-yo, Raja Singh says, I can appreciate that this may have all sorts of technical applications. It would make a splendid cheese cutter.
I
That
related
was cute.
so hard to that.
Buddy.
Speaking of fantastical, was that your fantastical food?
Oh, yeah, what's the matter with me?
Perfect,
Yeah,
that's your
my
fantastical food.
fantastical food.
There were some emergency food cubes.
There were emergency food
I think
cubes.
there was some rice somewhere.
I love a
pressed
food cube.
food pellets was what they had
Yeah.
up in the I thought the idea of bed tea
Oh, bed tea. I Googled that. It's a thing.
was nice. It sounds hobbity,
Yeah. Or it's just like drinking coffee in your bed on the weekends.
which I think I should do. I don't know why I don't do that. I think I could get up early if I thought there was going to be a cup of tea.
Not if you got to make it, though.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Fair.
But you could get an electric kettle.
I do
Put
have
by
one.
your bed and then put water in it before you go to bed. Then when you get up in the morning, boop, hit the button.
My cat would get electrocuted when she knocked it off my bedside table.
Yep.
I've been trying to change how I drink tea because George Orwell has an essay on tea. Because he's, a proper British man. And he's like, if you take it for 2 weeks straight with no sugar or cream, you will never go back. And
To what?
to sugar and creamy tea. Like, I like whole milk and like a tiny scant teaspoon of sugar.
I don't
but
put anything in my tea.
It depends on the tea. for
yeah,
me.
but like a black tea, I don't like it without something.
I like to put a little milk in it. Sometimes I'll put a little honey.
Yeah, like I like a little sweetness, but
Yeah, I like a little milk in a black tea, but I can drink it without it.
Soap stuff.
Shit. I really did a terrible job.
There's
I'm sorry,
really-
everyone.
It's okay.
I don't think there's any
I
soap
don't think
stuff.
there's any.
There's no really complicated human relationships.
The monk who disappeared and then wafted all the butterflies
Sure.
up
That's soapy.
Yeah, that's
we'll give him
kinda
that.
soapy.
That's pretty soapy.
Yeah.
He defected and then lost his mind.
That's fair. I don't think I can think of anything else that would be.
There's nothing
Soap
complicated.
stuff on the spot.
Yeah.
I
don't
mean,
know.
the him continuously turning down women, not because he's gay, but because he's got work. No, see,
Just so busy.
I can't date you. I've got this space elevator.
I mean, the harrowing rescue in space. I feel like there's something soapy there, but I can't identify it.
It's completely out of tone with the rest of the book in a good way, but it's completely
Yeah.
out of tone with the book.
Did you like the book?
I liked the end of the book so much that I'm inclined to say yes, but no, overall I didn't. I was like, this is not interesting. It wasn't bad,
You
but
just
it
didn't
wasn't
enjoy reading it.
interesting. But
Yeah.
then the last 60 pages, I was obsessed.
It's not a page turner, but I didn't mind it.
I like it better now that I finished it and read some essays about it. You know,
It's not an unpleasant read. It doesn't take very long.
I like the idea of a space elevator. I did fall asleep a lot while reading it.
I wonder if in Britain our British friends say space lift.
Please write in if it's a space lift. Go to your nearest store and tell us if it's marketed as space lift there. Star Wars Lord of the Rings, guys.
I said that it's 2001, but quieter.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's Lord of the Rings because Sri Lanka is the Shire.
Hold on. It's Lord of the Rings because he's got his little magic yo-yo, which is a ring.
And there's a tower.
It does have a ring on it. That's right.
It's got a ring, and he's the lord of it. And he has to throw it. He throws it.
And there's the Eye of Sauron.
Okay, but also they're the Shire because they've lived in relative obscurity and now the world is coming to them.
That's true, too.
It's like Wakanda.
It's definitely Lord of the Rings.
It's extra Lord of the Rings.
extra Lord of the Rings. Okay, coming up next time, I believe, is Mirror Dance.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
So come join us for that.
Rate, review, and subscribe.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
You go, girl. You go, girl. You go, girl. A hilarious podcast.
Someone has farted.
Ted.
Oh.
No, I wasn't looking at I was just
It was
looking
Kevin.
around.
First he's 50, then he's farting.
I don't know, Lori. Whoever smelt it, dealt it.
Oh, Ella, it's in
Oh,
my
yeah.
mouth.
That's bad.
What?